All right, welcome to the Refined Peasants podcast, episode 3, and today we're talking about impeachment and what our thoughts on the impeachment were. So, to kind of cover bases, it was all over the January 6th riots and whether or not Trump's words incited the riot. And go ahead and I'll move the floor over to Garrett, see what his initial thoughts of the impeachment were.
So, initial thoughts on the impeachment. So, we all know my political affiliation. I'm a Republican. That doesn't have anything to do with my political or my view on the way this impeachment was run. I think it was 99% political posturing. The Democrats wanted to send a message to Trump, and they kind of succeeded. Trump's ego was always his biggest drawback, and his biggest boon was Trump's ego. And you just can't quash something that large. God bless him, but that was a long 4 years. Again, as far as impeachment, I don't see the merit in it. I don't see the merit in their trying to hold him accountable for his words. His words being responsible for inciting the Capitol Hill riots. I have a problem with the premise. I have a problem with the precedent. Just a lot of different issues that we're going to get into as we go through this, I assume.
So you would not have voted for impeachment?
So we're going to get into that. That's a larger discussion. Just right now, I'm going to say no. I don't think I would have voted for impeachment. I don't think, without specifically calling people to violence, you shouldn't be held accountable for people committing violence. So, like when someone reads "Catcher in the Rye," and gets killed John Lennon out of it, you don't hold the writer of "Catcher in the Rye" responsible.
I think that's
now that's not exactly the same thing, but I would say right now that I would not have voted for impeachment in either the House or the Senate. I don't think what they had him on was an impeachable offense.
I wish they would have went after him on something else, to be honest with you. So they went after, it's kind of hard to prove, like, he said this and this incited a riot. It's always been hard to prove. But
they tried to nail Alex Jones for it all the time.
Well, you're not going to do it. It's like, unless it's as concrete as so-and-so go do X, it's not going to happen. And it literally has to be that explicit in most cases. Whether or not we can all agree that, like, of course, even Mitch McConnell admitted, of course he's responsible and his words incited the riot. And he's the leading Republican right now. And he admitted it. He just said, I can't vote on it. He wanted the cop-out. But what I really would have liked for them to go after him is he told the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia governor on a phone call to find 11,000 votes. If that is not any sort of corruption or a break of ethical norms, I don't know what is, because this man literally asked them to commit voter fraud.
Okay.
For him to win the state.
He did not ask them to commit voter fraud. Donald Trump believed that there were votes missing in Georgia. He asked the governor to find the votes he thought were missing. He didn't say go manufacture votes. He said
that's what he said.
Find.
Because there was no missing 11,000 votes.
To him, there were missing votes in Georgia.
He may live in his own reality, but he asked them to do something that was illegal in
not
our
in
reality.
his mind. In his mind, he thought there were votes missing. Whether or not there were
not, though.
Okay. But in his mind, he wasn't asking you to go commit voter fraud. He was asking you to go find votes he felt were missing.
But they were not missing. And they had already...
So if I go tell you that I want you to find a missing person, then it turns out that the person wasn't missing. Did I file a false police report? Or was I just...
If the person doesn't exist, then yes.
But that's not... The votes did exist. They just weren't... Okay.
No, they didn't exist.
All right, so let's get to what he was actually impeached over.
See what I'm
The
saying?
first-
It's hard to defend. I would have rather seen Republicans try to defend that because it's impossible to defend. He asked them to commit.
No, he
Election
didn't.
fraud.
We're not going to agree on it. Because I don't think he did. I don't think that by asking someone to find something that you feel is missing, whether or not it actually exists. So if I feel like a book is missing, now not saying he was right to feel this way, not saying that he had any real tangible evidence to suggest that these votes were missing. Now you can argue, I'm sure Republicans have argued that him and his administration had tallies on so that's why they called Arizona so early. Was because they had tallies, they had polls, they had all this data coming in from Arizona, and they're like, okay, we've got enough data to call Arizona after 2 hours. I could see Trump saying, look, we had data from Georgia saying that we were missing 11,000 votes from districts. Now, whether those votes actually existed or not.
My question is, did those votes even matter to the election?
Well, no, so it's only one state.
So it's at that point, even if do those votes even matter to win that state? Would they have been enough to change?
They'd
Well, I
have
think
been
the
enough.
11,000 votes would have been able to win the state.
He said
it
he said we're down 11,000, whatever. And, well, we just need one more than that. So find me this many votes. He actually said those words. Find me this many votes. And
it was in the context of feeling like...
It feels
and
like
again,
it feels like you're getting gypped to you.
Right. He felt cheated. He felt like
fraud
there
was
were
coming.
votes that he feels he had data to back up that should have been there. And they weren't there. Now, whether or not those votes existed
he
is
probably
one
could have
thing.
worded it better.
I don't know why you're saying it like that. We know that they didn't exist.
We know now that they didn't exist.
They
When did
knew
Georgia
then.
when did Georgia finish
It
their
was
audit?
after the certification. Joe Biden won that state 3 times.
When I'm going to have to look up dates. But because the Georgia certified its electorates before they had the audit.
That's not true.
So look up the dates for me then.
They had to do the recount because under Georgia law, Biden didn't win by enough percent. It's an automatic recount.
That was for the Senate, or that was for the House. That wasn't for the presidential.
Yes, it was.
I don't think it was.
I know
think
it
you're
was.
full of shit.
I know it was.
Okay.
Just look at the date of
Okay.
the Washington Post article, and I'll tell you if it's before or after they certified their results. Once they certify their results, there's no change again. It doesn't matter.
Unless you do a recount.
But, Nick, let me just ask you, how does that sound off the rip? So, there were no missing 11,000 votes. Georgia had certified their results. And then Trump gets on the phone. The President of the United States calls your governor and your Secretary of State, and he says, find me this many votes. That's...
Is that a quote? Is that an exact quote?
Yeah.
I would have to see the quote.
I told you it. It's find me the
But
11,000.
I would have to see.
I want to see the whole context.
Yeah.
Because it
mean,
was
it's an
in
hour long.
it was a conversation about how he felt like he had the votes in Georgia. Like that's what I'm saying. Is
and
he
it's-
felt
and
like
it's-
he had the votes in
You
Georgia.
could say, find me that vote,
It's-
but the quote before it's like, man, I feel like, there's still votes, and then find me those votes.
Well,
So, if
they
I-
spend the entire phone call telling him, no, you're wrong. You lost the state of
I would
Georgia.
have to see the phone call. That's the problem. I would have to hear the phone call to justify that. Now, could he have worded it probably better? Yes.
Yeah, well, that's fucking the history of Trump's problems. Is could he have worded shit better?
Yeah.
For that and Twitter. Fuck you, Jack Dorsey. Twitter.
So-
It's not Jack Dorsey's fault on that one.
No.
It's fucking Trump's fault.
I was going to say, it's Trump's
I'm more
fault.
mad at people.
Trump shuts up in 2017. We have a totally different 2020 election. But that's besides.
But we can talk about what he was actually impeached for. I'm just saying I would have preferred they went after him on that because that, to me,
More concrete.
that is more concrete and it's way more destructive because he was asking them to be like, hey, I want you to undermine the will of your people.
I would also
So-
have to see context. I would have to see the other half of that phone call.
Republican governor
It's
certified the votes November 20th for Georgia. So when was the Trump Georgia phone call?
It's December. But it's crazy to me that people defend that.
So January 2nd was when Trump was on the phone with Secretary.
So well after they'd been certified
Yeah,
and sent to
Secretary of
Washington.
State. Yep.
And sent to Washington.
So
at this
really,
point-
what point was the phone call even about?
Yeah,
Like,
and
you've
well,
already
there was no
certified the
reason.
electoral-
They didn't have the power to do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a done.
And they
then
were
that,
asking-
Then that definitely
So
should have been the
again,
point of
the
impeachment.
main idea of it is he felt like the votes were stolen, even if Georgia certified. So the problem with
It's-
Trump, because the problem with Trump is he can't take an L. This has been
No,
his problem
yeah.
since 2016. He can't ever take something on the chin. Like, as much as I like Trump's policies, the dude cannot take a hit and then let it slide. So every time someone lashes out and says Donald Trump is this, he has to fire back most of the time on fucking Twitter. And it makes him look like an asshole. Even though he's defending himself, it makes him out to be the ass.
It's not my fault that he lives in his own reality where he can't lose.
That is true.
That is accurate.
You can't blame, he thought he lost. He thought that, it was cheated. It's like, well, regardless, if they'd have listened to him, they would have committed voter fraud on his orders.
So if I'm at...
It's like being asked to find the Loch Ness Monster.
They would have
It's
committed
like
a
not-
crime on his orders if they'd have gone through with it.
If they'd have actually just found the votes and not manufactured them? Because he didn't say go manufacture votes. He said find the ones I think are missing.
That's where I think
They weren't
the wording-
missing. So how do you find votes that aren't missing?
You don't. They
You
don't
have
exist.
to manufacture them.
No,
Or
because you're
toss
putting
out.
words in his mouth, and you don't need to do that.
That's
He
what he
puts
meant.
enough shit falls out of the dude's mouth that you don't have to
That's
put
what
words
he
in.
meant. But we can
No,
talk
it's
about
not.
what
You-
he actually...
You can't say what he meant until you're Trump. Trump probably didn't know what the fuck he meant.
I know exactly what he meant. I take him for his word. He said, find 11,000 votes that aren't there. And I said, okay. Like, that's what he wanted them to do. But here's what he actually got impeached for. He got impeached because he stirred up some stuff since he lost. Since they, they called the election for Biden, the media called it. And then it was like, well, the media doesn't actually predict the president. They never have. But, they make predictions based off of who
Data.
wins each state. And then Congress actually does it on January 20th every 4 years. And Trump started a fuss from November 3rd onward. And it's all of those words. And then the day of the riot, I think that led up to the Capitol riot.
So
And
including the part where he said peacefully and patriotically protest at the Capitol.
he did say that, but after he had spent an hour pissing off the crowd.
By telling him he feels like the election was stolen.
Well, yeah, he lied to him. Yeah, I agree with you. He did lie to him.
That's
How would
not what I said.
How would you lie?
I said he
He
believed the
didn't.
election was
He
stolen.
didn't. He didn't lie to him.
Mhm.
Was the election stolen?
No, they didn't prove it, so I have to say no. Like, y'all talked a really big game, and so I know during this, I was willing to give Trump his day in court. If you really think you were cheated, take it to the Supreme Court, and I'm gonna trust the courts to be biased because honestly, in America, that's all you can do. The courts may be unbiased. It doesn't matter though, because if you're gonna have any hope for an impartial juror here, it's gonna be the courts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to give Trump his day in court. I mean, a lot of stuff. If you talk to anybody, people felt fishy about this election. All right? And you can say it is whatever it is. But a lot, not just Republicans, a large portion of Republicans, obviously, but independents and Democrats all said that this election felt fishy. Okay? And you can say it's because of COVID and all the mail-in voting. You could say, now, if they wanted to make a case for the election being stolen, there's an actual case in my mind of these states usurping their own voting, their own laws to make new voting regulations for COVID. There's an actual case there, but that's not what Trump did. Trump said y'all stole votes, y'all dropped votes off, y'all manufactured them and dropped them off, in the pallets full of ballots. That's all for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And it's all horseshit.
Yeah, so they got laughed out of court. Fucking, what was that one chick with, we're going to release the Kraken, and there's nothing.
Nothing.
And it's, if you can't prove it, shut up, because you're undermining an entire election.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to hear you out. I did. But you couldn't prove it. You got laughed out of 60 out of 60, I think is the number, court cases. stop. Because if you can't prove it, it doesn't matter. If I can't prove you killed somebody, it does me no good to go around telling somebody, hey, he killed that guy.
Mm-hmm. It's a hell of a charge, too, when you really think about it. To say that the entire democracy was stolen from the American people. To say, no, the American people wanted me, but instead I was so dangerous that they rigged it, and they chose Joe Biden. That is a hell of a claim to have with zero evidence.
Really, if anyone was going to rig the election, it was going to be Hillary Clinton. It wasn't going to be Joe Biden. Like, that dude ain't got the screws left to orchestrate something on that level.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was the precedent for his impeachment.
Yeah.
Was that his rhetoric from November 4th to January 6th increased the temperature to the point that these people went and stormed the Capitol.
Well, I don't think anyone would deny that it increased the temperature.
Yeah, I don't either.
Trump's presidency, for sure, just in general terms, rose the temperature. And that's not even always controversial. Like, I mean, there's an argument that Abraham Lincoln rose the temperature.
Yeah, started the Civil War. But obviously
But in this case, this was, he was on the wrong side of a revolution waiting to happen.
My thing is, these people who stormed the Capitol, they weren't Republicans.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, they were.
They were radicals. Let's be honest.
Okay, so I thought you were going to go a different route, but you're right. These are radical people.
Literally, you name one Republican that would take down an American flag, throw it on the ground, and then hoist a Trump flag. If that's not a radical...
they're like...
I'm just going to say some dude voted Republican and then beat a cop to death with the American flag. I'm going to throw that out there.
And a lot of them, they're like 40% of that crowd was former military.
So here's the thing, is you should not associate the people who stormed the Capitol with all Republicans. Okay? Just like you shouldn't associate all Democrats with what happened during the BLM riots. But these people were radical, and they were mostly Republican. Alex Jones himself comes on, and he was there, and he's like, these were Trump supporters. Like, I'm not going to lie. There may have been a BLM or an Antifa guy thrown in there, too, just to enjoy the chaos. But the momentum.
Yeah, this was for sure a Republican who...
these were Trump supporters.
Yeah, these were Republican people who were just crazy. Just former military, some like teachers, realtors, like I said, former military. These were average folks who just were gullible enough to believe horse shit that was fed to them. And it's honestly not their fault. It's, they trusted somebody. If someone you really trusted, and I mean you really trusted, told you a deep secret that, the election was stolen, like, I would... Like,
you're implying that these people had that level of trust in Donald Trump.
Here's the problem, though. If a lie is told enough time, it becomes a truth.
I think they had enough doubt in Democrats.
No, I think they had enough trust in Donald Trump.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think you understand how much your party loves Trump.
If you're told...
I don't understand how much my party loves Trump. The whole QAnon movement...
The QAnon thing is, like... According to all the polls, it's roughly like 25% at minimum.
That's terrifying.
Percent of the Republican Party.
That is fucking terrifying. Because QAnon is crazy. The highest is like
36% that I've seen. Percent that have, that they believe QAnon. And that's not somewhat agree, that's agree. That's like, they really buy into that stuff. And, like, I know a few people myself, and I'm like, I don't understand how you can even think that way.
Right. Like, I don't want to get into the QAnon stuff. It's so ridiculous. Go ahead, Nick.
So my thing is, if a lie is told enough, people start believing it as truth. So
yeah.
I can tell you Bigfoot's real. I could be lying on my ass. But if I told you enough and enough and enough, people are like, yeah, I saw, especially, I believe. It's like, you get, especially gullible people, there's a lot of people
I think it's
out
people
there
who want to believe you.
People who trust you.
No, it's the people who want to believe you. The people who wanted to believe that Donald Trump was still president. Because I can't see how else you would wrap your mind around the circles that QAnon does to think Donald Trump is still going to be president on, it was like March 3rd. Was the new date now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he's not.
I get this election was...
You want it so bad. See, okay, yeah, let's circle back.
So this election is clearly, with COVID, it's not a normal election. It took a lot longer with votes and stuff to count them because you want to be safe. You don't want to spread the virus. So I could see how it took a few days to finish tallying, but the weeks it went on, I'm like,
Yep.
man, Arizona, hurry up, please. The fact that it was down to Vegas. Vegas was the deciding
You guys
state.
know it always takes this long, right?
To confirm it, yeah. We just
Confirm.
normally...
So to get to 100% reporting, so like even if you did like the whole New York Times like live action map, like New York, they called it at like 13% reporting. It took them, they were the last state to 100% report.
Well, yeah, that's like calling California.
But you understand that they can't call Georgia a state that's, you know, within 1% until it's done.
But so here's the thing. I went to bed in 2016 and woke up and knew Donald Trump was the president.
Yep.
It did not take 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's throwing...
Well, we've never had this many people vote in swing states.
That's a piss poor excuse. But...
I don't know. Record votes for both parties.
we did have... Yeah, it was record voter
turnout.
turnout.
Yep.
I mean, so what, 81 million for Biden and
Great.
75 for... I mean, that's almost the entire voting population of the U.S. Like, it's a lot of folk.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay. So, again, with his impeachment, they're saying from his time, starting to imply that the election was stolen. Starting to outright say the election was stolen. All the way to January 6th, they're saying his rhetoric about the election being stolen is what drove these people to storm the Capitol. Okay? And that's what they were impeaching him over. They were impeaching him by trying to blame him for the actions taken by these rioters because they feel like he was responsible. And like Wyatt said, there's even... Like, Mitch McConnell says, yeah, he was responsible.
On the floor
Yeah.
of the Senate, he said that.
So, one, I'm not going to be one of those guys where because personally, I love apex predator, cocaine Mitch McConnell. All right, the dude is a great politician. He keeps shit that I don't want from going into law, and he advocates for some stuff that I want to go into law. He's kind of wishy-washy on getting stuff I want passed. But I'm not going to be one of those guys who's like, oh, he just suddenly turned, and now he's a Democrat operative. Like, that's stupid.
Well, you know Donald Trump did, right?
Donald Trump did what?
He declared war on Mitch McConnell.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he's going to primary out all of the fake Republicans.
Yeah, we'll have fun.
And you better hope that QAnon thing stays at 25%.
Yeah.
Because if that's done, it's the end of the Republican Party.
They can only keep up so long. Surely, fucking Christ. Anyway, I'm also not going to say that Mitch McConnell didn't have political motivations for denouncing Trump. It's just like a lot of Republicans are trying to especially in purple states or states that could turn blue, they're trying to distance themselves because Trump was a very divisive figure between parties. And the thing about Trump is he drives voter turnout for both sides. So the name of the game in presidential elections is drive turnout for you and hope that he doesn't drive turnout. Donald Trump, no one was enthused to vote for Joe Biden. They were enthused to vote against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He drove 81 million people to the polls against him because that's just the man he is. You know? And all right. So, based on his rhetoric, can we all agree the impeachment was constitutional?
Yeah, I don't think anyone would say that it wasn't. Anyone who knows what they're talking about, the people of Congress even knew it was. Rand Paul knew it was. He just, political theater.
I don't particularly care. So, I wouldn't see if Trump had served 2 terms, I wouldn't have seen the point in impeaching him.
Well, yeah.
If you're gonna do that, then you need to take him to criminal court. Okay, but they're trying to keep him from running again.
There's definitely political
And-
Well, I don't
motive
blame
here.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think their best vote is if he did run again.
and I think that's part of the problem too. Is a lot of these people who are just all in for Trump are seeing like, man, they really want to take him down. They're scared of him. They're scared of him, and it's like, I don't know that they're scared of him. They're just sick and tired of him.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love Trump's policies up and down. I defended the dude for 4 years until January 6th, and I lost my shit because that dude. I have to agree. Like he raised the temperature to a point that he's at least partially responsible in my mind. Now, is he criminally liable? I don't think so.
Well, the impeachment's not a criminal trial anyway.
Right, but
It is very much its own thing. To quote, Lindsey Graham, he's a Republican senator from South Carolina during the Clinton trials. He said, "You don't even have to commit a crime to be impeached. All impeachment is whatever Congress deems that you went outside the bounds of your powers or crossed some sort of ethical line," which, of course, Bill Clinton probably did.
But he for sure got a blowjob from Monica Lewinsky.
Well, that's not the question. But the question is, did he intimidate or abuse his office of power? Which, I mean, that's something we're never really going to know. But, I mean, like, I don't know, getting off topic. But Lindsey Graham is right. Impeachment is very much whatever the hell Congress says.
Yeah, if you feel like impeaching you, they're going to impeach you.
Which
it's just a matter of, do they have the votes?
And Trump had, I'll give him that, he had the most bipartisan impeachment ever. 57. We've never crossed 51. So he's shattering records.
Yay.
But he did it in the House, too.
Again, these Republicans that voted for him probably have different motivations. But I'm not going to say that no one was not voting their conscience. I mean, maybe these people really do feel like he's guilty and should have been impeached.
No, they definitely thought he was guilty.
Okay.
And
well, you can't pretend to understand the inner workings of other people's minds. So,
well, it's not that. It's whenever they admit that he's guilty, and of course he's responsible, but they need a cop-out because they have voters that vote them in, and they don't want to lose their primaries. So like,
aren't the senators elected to represent the views of their constituency? So, wouldn't saying my voters don't want him impeached be a valid reason?
I think that's silly, to be honest with you.
Why?
Because if you commit an impeachable offense, which, I mean, I'm sure, inciting a riot, assuming for a second he did incite a riot, that's an impeachable offense. Or, if he committed treason. I don't care if my constituents are as red as they come. It is my job as a senator to stand up for the Constitution.
I mean, that's a compelling argument. Do you owe more duty to the people who elected you?
Problem is, you would not make it far in politics with that policy.
I'm not going to lie to you. I completely understand the Republicans who voted to acquit him. So when Mitch McConnell says that, of course, if it was anonymous, there would be a higher vote. And I'm like, okay. Well, he's basically admitted. There were some circles that wanted to impeach him that couldn't.
Well, okay, so that's like saying there would have been a higher percentage of people vote for the Green New Deal if there would have been an anonymous vote. When you're not held accountable, people aren't as rash.
Okay, how about this? If there was an anonymous vote for the impeachment, do you think more or less than 57 would have voted to acquit? Take into account what Mitch said.
So you got a solid 50. Every Democrat was going to vote for it. I mean, yeah, probably.
Probably more?
Probably more.
Okay. That's the argument I was trying. It may not be the 67 they needed, but I think for sure they would have crossed 60.
No.
Because Mitch and his little circle would have at least pulled 4 or 5.
So we're gonna get into the
nitty-gritty
of it. So just right off the bat, Nick, how aware are you of Trump's rhetoric?
I don't know exactly what he said during the riots.
So during the riots, he didn't say nothing, which is part of the problem.
Well, that's not true.
What did he? Okay,
during the riots,
what did he say?
He whenever they breached the Capitol, he blamed Mike Pence.
When? Show me the tweet or the. Can you? He's banned now.
I'm gonna have to see something that shows. But
so as they breached the Capitol, he blamed Mike Pence. I know him turning on Mike Pence was one of the more distasteful things that I saw. Just like him turning on John McCain and who was that? Mad Dog Mattis and god damn.
He seems to tweet on people and turn on them who otherwise would be their allies.
Yeah.
So this is burn bridges. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's facts.
I mean,
so if you can imagine, his rhetoric was essentially telling people that the election was stolen over and over, how it was cheated, how it was wrong, how if we didn't do something about it, we were going to lose our country, how...
So here's the actual tweet. It said, Mike Pence didn't... This is after they had breached the Capitol, according to the timeline. So they were inside.
Okay.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or incorrect ones which they were asked to previously certify. The USA demands the truth.
Ugh.
And that was him. And then
God
2.5
damn it.
minutes later, they started the Hang Mike Pence tweet. And I actually have a screenshot on my phone of that. That for sure trended on Twitter. They were screaming Hang Mike Pence as loud as they could.
That's
just
fucking... God damn
that's
it, Trump.
That's just disgraceful. It's just disgraceful.
Because Mike Pence is a goddamn decent human
And can
being.
I want to go off on that caveat. Mike Pence is an honorable man, and he's a great human being. And I would love to see that man run for president one day if it's possible. But and he stuck by Trump through everything, even stuff he personally disagreed
he drug
on.
his own name through the muck with Trump.
We're talking loyalty with a capital L.
Yeah.
And you just turned your back.
And just goddamn decent, too. And the crazy part is Mike Pence didn't even have... What kind of fucking authority do you think this dude has?
Yeah.
So, if a vice president could dictate single-handedly who wins an election, we would have nothing but two-term fucking presidents.
Exactly. That's exactly correct.
And what... Oh, god damn it.
So the most I know about the Capitol riots was... A lot of people ask me, why didn't federal government or any kind of authority, like police, FBI, anyone step in early? I said, well, once they breached the Capitol, they had no idea if the senators were safe. They didn't know if they had hostages. So you can't just go in if senators are in danger. I said, plus, okay, they said, someone told me, she goes, well, you know, they posted on social media, this is what they were going to do. I'm like, yeah, but if I took everything on social media at face value, everyone I know would probably be a terrorist. And plus, I said, if you had two groups of people...
You're hanging out with the wrong people.
Man, that's
You
the
need
problem.
new friends. Dude.
Yeah.
Yes,
But,
do.
I mean, I think... and I don't know how true this is, but I keep seeing the headline everywhere. But it's not from like a mainstream news source. It's just from not necessarily from pundits, but from journalists from like Vanity Fair. I don't know how reliable they are, but it's Trump didn't even call the guard. Pence had to call the guard because DC doesn't have a governor. They have a mayor.
Yeah.
So the vice president has also the power to deploy the guard to DC, and he's the one who had to do it on his own authority. Because Trump wouldn't initially call the guard. And I'm like...
That's fucked.
Whoa.
If that's true, that's fucked.
And, don't... If that's misinformation, call me out in the comments, please.
Right.
Because that...
Yeah, for sure.
that
Call
is-
him out in the comments. I will beat him over the head with it next
because-
podcast.
Well, what he said about Pence is definitely not.
No,
No.
yeah.
That is
See,
for
and
sure.
honestly, goddamn, I'm telling you guys right now, listeners, like, I defended Donald Trump every step of the way because I really don't believe the dude's a racist. I don't believe a lot of the shit the mainstream media was saying about him. I don't. But it turns my stomach. It does. Now, did he directly call these people to violence? I don't think so. But some of the shit that falls out of his fucking mouth. Goddamn, if Jack Dorsey could have just fucking banned him in 2017.
I think you're looking at a new election.
You are looking at a new election.
I'm still not sure that he would have won.
If the first
with
debate,
COVID stifling the economy,
with
it was
at that first debate, if he would have done it differently, we'd probably see a different election.
no.
That first
I
debate
think-
was
I think-
a shit show for
So,
both sides, but Trump was
that
a
first debate was a shit show for
For
Trump.
Trump.
exactly.
You're gonna turn on. So, Chris Wallace did goddamn decent, and I'm not. Chris Wallace is liberal for a Republican. Like, he's a left-leaning Republican, and that's fine if you want to be a pussy. But God dang it, that was a fair shake he gave you. Now, not as fair as that second one. That little liberal girl. God, what was her name? But that was goddamn decent.
You're talking about the actual debate,
The
not
second
the town,
actual,
not
yeah,
the town
fuck
hall.
the town hall. The
Yeah.
town hall was chicken shit.
Well, that was after he tested positive for COVID. I mean, I get it. I mean, whatever. But,
Oh, we're getting. So
Little off
we're gonna.
topic.
Yeah, we're gonna go back around here. Do you feel like one should be convicted for their words?
well, for sure you can. The
For
question
sure you
is,
can.
The question is, did Trump meet those requirements?
Right.
Did he ever say to incite violence? Did he ever do anything to incite the violence? What did he say?
So
Him
it's-
personally, they played at the riots. He did say, he said, go over there. We're going to march over there, pause, and peacefully protest. And the reason I say the pause is because, like, personally, that may have been plausible deniability. May have been like, look, I told him to peacefully protest. And, like, I don't know his heart.
If I told
But
Derek to peacefully protest and then he went to riot, it's not my fault.
That's my point. And you could argue that we were already at a fever pitch and January 6th was going to happen, whether he had a rally or not.
I don't
But
think so.
you can't. How are you going to hold him accountable for a riot when he straight tells you peacefully and patriotically protest?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fuck? Don't shoot the dog. Pow! He told me to shoot the dog.
Well,
The fuck I did.
Well, let me go ahead and explain kind of this perspective of, if, this is a hypothetical thought experiment to go along with it. So you're married, you have kids, you're doing your thing with life, and then someone comes up to you, and a good friend, someone you really trust, and I mean trust a lot, and they tell you, they like, look, man, she's been cheating on you for 6 months. 6 months she's been cheating on you. And those kids that you like, they're not actually yours because she's been off and on with this guy for a long time. So those kids aren't even yours, man. And he's lying to you, but you don't know that because you trust this guy. And you go and you do something stupid, like buy a gun, and you do something really stupid to her. And then that dude comes out in court. But before you go and you buy the gun, this man says, hey man, just calm down, react, stay cool, keep a level head, relax. Just go over to her house right now, pissed off, angry, screaming mad, and just relax. Just relax. Just have a decent conversation and make sure your voice is heard. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see
I may have over-dramatized it, but that was to make my point. But I think he did raise the temperature of a crowd.
For sure. Raise the temperature.
And then he sent a raised temperature crowd over there. He may have said peacefully protest.
They were also already planning to protest the Capitol before the rally. The
It was his rally, though.
the FBI already knew about it. Which is part of... So we can also probably agree this was a total failure of Capitol security. Like a total lack of preparedness.
They trusted like one guy to stop all those people. It's like, no, they don't pay those people enough to stop.
Eugene Goodman, give him the highest civilian medal you can give him. I don't know what the award is for a cop. Give him the Medal of Freedom if you have to. But what that man did, he bought them, the people inside the chambers, he bought them 13 minutes.
Wow.
That one man did that. Bought him 13 minutes. That is insane, and he deserves all the respect in the world.
Yeah,
and everyone respects him. It's not a partisan thing.
Right.
I'm saying everyone
I would say like
likes him.
Well,
no offense. Thank God the senators weren't there. Because no offense.
Well, I'm going to be straight with you. I really thought... I would have... And I've talked... This is a couple days after. But I'd have really appreciated some of them senators just having the balls to sit in that fucking chamber and say, come at me.
No. So they arrested a guy who had zip ties.
I don't expect it of him, but goddamn would I have respected Mike Pence if he was sitting in that fucking chair when they stormed.
I think if Secret Service would have taken Mike Pence out on concept,
He
they'd
is
had
the
to.
vice
Do you
president.
ever want to... If y'all... What's it? Designated Survivor? Famous quote from one of the guys is like, if you don't come with me, I will be forced to pick you up and carry you.
Yeah, he was not.
It's
I
like-
don't think any of them had a choice.
But like,
And that's what scares me the most is like one of them dudes had zip tie handcuffs. And I'm
This
like,
isn't...
I'm like, what was their plan if they got in there?
Yeah.
no offense.
FBI.
Nancy Pelosi, if she was in there, she did.
I don't
Well,
think so.
let's not say stuff like that. So Homeland Security won't disclose any of this. So we have no idea what their plans were once they got inside. We have no idea about any of that. But don't tell me.
They came for something.
Don't tell me don't trust my lying eyes. Like them.
There were also 2 bombs planted outside the RNC and the DNC.
Yeah.
So whoever these people are, whoever put the bombs there at least, was pissed off at both. It was not just one side.
Yeah.
Personally, I think whoever put the bombs there were anarchists.
They just wanted to keep
for
stirring
a political
the pot.
party at all. They were probably just anarchists trying to take advantage of what they thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or what was happening. And they're like, oh, here's my chance
They were trying to cripple both sides.
Mm-hmm. But, and I'll tell you what, the man, I know we already kind of talked about it, but the man I felt the most bad for was Trump. Or not Trump, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Mistake.
Me too, buddy.
Person I felt the most sorry for was Pence.
Yeah. Hands down.
He doesn't deserve that.
Pence deserved a lot better than
Now, Cruz and Hawley, all the bad shit that they got, they deserve it. Because they called for the election fraud and everything just like Trump did. And they deserve all the flack.
So
this
goes to my point. If you can impeach Donald Trump over his rhetoric, can you not impeach Ted Cruz and Hawley?
Well, there was
for spouting the same rhetoric.
There was a call for from AOC to force their resignation. But regardless of what your views are of her, but,
she went from working to a bar to being Congress.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a blue collar person becoming a congressman. She's just dumb
she's
as
not.
shit.
Yeah, she's not.
She's got an economics degree though.
Dumb as shit.
Yeah, but all her economics policies are dumb as fuck. I could see the flaws.
Anyway, so let's get off AOC. I'll have plenty of time to ridicule
their argument would be that Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, they could have said whatever, but they don't. Their words aren't scripture the way Trump's are.
I believe that.
So because Trump had the respect of the people more than Ted Cruz and Hawley did, he is more responsible?
Yes.
I feel
That's
like
ridiculous.
No, it's not.
Trump's got more of a
just because I'm a highly respected individual. Now, do you have an ethical responsibility?
Well, that's what
Absolutely.
we're talking about. We're talking about impeachment. That's of course that's what we're talking about.
My thing is, I think
that's not.
Trump had more of a cult following.
Oh, that's facts.
Like,
I mean,
there were some people who just thought, they just hated Hillary so much that they were like, Trump, and they took everything he said.
That's what it started as. It started as not so much as like pro-Trump.
No. This started as a fucking joke in 2015.
But so now,
it's a following.
It's a cult.
It's like,
and there's so I'm a Republican, and this is. I'm sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
So my best thing is like people are like it's not a cult. I'm like that's exactly what people say when they're in cult is like, no, this isn't a cult. This is just they some people took Trump's word like God. They took it.
See, that's the first mistake.
No,
actually that's probably mistake number 2 or 3.
It's like they took his like. It was Jesus Christ up there speaking. Not everyone.
I'm gonna scoot away before you get struck by lightning.
God's got a good enough name not to hit you two.
That's okay.
Fair enough.
Goddamn, Nick.
But
it's like some of them took his words so literally. It's like okay.
Well, and to believe what some of these QAnon. God, I've been hearing about QAnon shit for fucking. I'm not gonna get into detail about how I hear about it, but trust me, it's not from anybody important. First it was January 7th, and then it was January 20th. He's going to walk up there and arrest Biden and put him in handcuffs at the inauguration. Now it's March 3rd, and it's like, God damn it, you only get one try with prophecies. Like, when you tell me the world's going to end on December 21st, 2012, and we get to December 22nd, you have lost all credibility.
Yeah.
And how wrapped up in your own fantasy do you have to be to believe that? Mm-hmm. If I'm a psychic and I give you a set of lottery numbers and I'm wrong 3 times, how many more times are you going to come to me for your lottery numbers?
No, yeah, I think you're
fucking
exactly right. Yeah, and that's what I don't understand is how these people just bought into.
I don't know how they rationalize.
And that's, I mean,
I feel like they
to get into.
I feel like most people want it to be true. They're just like, you know what? Yeah, it has to be.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, this like. I wasn't for up until this point. I was like, look, I get it. If you're saying stuff on Facebook, like, that's mean and rude and threatening, I get it. But, like, this, I was like, after saying the riots, I was like, Jack Dorsey, I get it. I was like, dude.
No, fuck you, Jack Dorsey.
I was like, I get it, bro. You probably should have banned the current president of the United States. Like, after that, I get it.
But he leaves terrorist leaders on Twitter. Like, that's what I don't understand.
Well, that's what Jake Tapper on CNN said. He said, like China has Twitter banned, okay? but their foreign leaders have Twitter. He's like, why would you allow their leaders to have something that they won't even allow their own citizens to have? And it's the same for like in Iran and a bunch of world leaders. Like Iran's, gosh, I don't know what they have. I don't know if it's a prime minister. I'm very sorry, but it was. I mean, he threatened to wipe Israel off the face of the planet, and nothing was. Now, granted, it is a 4-year-old tweet, but I still think the principle stands. Those key words should probably be checked. But I will not give a pass on Trump. I was like, I get it. You have to take away his voice because his voice caused that, in my opinion.
It's an example. It's most what I think it is. It just set an example.
Well, I don't disagree with you. They're making an example out of him.
Well, it's not like
I think one of the truest things Trump's ever said is because they hate me because they hate you. And I think that resonates with a lot of Republicans. Because I do feel hated. I feel like the left fucking hates me. They hate everything that I stand for.
I say that. I have Democratic friends who we can have a casual debate.
I can have, yeah.
And nothing gets butthurt. We agree on some things. We disagree on things. We don't hate each other at the end. But I have met some people who are Democrat who just hated me because I was Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what? We might actually find some middle ground.
I could agree with them in some points, but they just hated me.
I mean, they're definitely... I mean, it used to not be like this. Like, the past 2 Republicans that ran before Trump ran on, I am bipartisan. Like, if you had a brown cardboard box that was labeled bipartisan and you opened it up, it would look like John McCain.
Yeah.
Like, that's... Like, him and Joey B., they made a career out of being, bipartisan and going across the aisle and making bills as negligible as they may be. That's what they did. Their whole career in Congress.
Well, and part of what Republicans got sick of getting nothing done.
Yeah.
So we elected a bully. And I'll be the first one to admit it. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016 to give the fucking liberals the finger. Because after 8 years of Obama and hearing about, just because I disagree with you, I'm a racist, misogynist, insert most terrible words you can call somebody. And I was one of them because I didn't like high federal income tax. Or I don't like the Iran deal. And I wanted to flip you off, so I did.
Yeah,
and I did it again.
A lot of people did that. There are a couple of people every year, and I don't know how minority they are in the electorate, but they would vote Libertarian just to protest vote. They wouldn't even care. Whoever they ran. Gary Johnson, Joe Jorgensen, didn't matter. You know who that was in 2016? Who was the middle finger vote? Donald fucking Trump. Yeah.
Biggest thing to make the world go around is spite. We will spite each other.
And not just that.
Drugs, sex, and weapons.
It also helps that they ran the worst candidate in political history, Hillary Clinton.
So far. They haven't run Kamala Harris yet.
You really think you'd take
Elizabeth Warren?
You would take Hillary over Kamala?
Yeah.
Wow. It's
Kamala's new aged crazy.
It's true.
Hillary's at least old school crazy.
Yeah.
I guess that's...
At least she kills her people the right way.
But back to, I guess, what he actually said. I mean, the fact that he didn't apologize till quite a bit after. That to me... And he didn't... Yeah. He didn't even call Mike Pence.
You let Joe Biden
apologize.
Make a statement before... God, I was so mad.
And did you hear the statement? Honestly, I thought he did perfect. He said, this is not what America is. This is... Even if you think it's political theater, you got to admit the statement was at least what we needed to hear from the president at the time.
I can't disagree with you. His response to it was actually just fantastic. As much as I don't like Biden's policy advocacy,
he let Trump make an ass of himself. That's all he did.
No, and he was off the bat. As soon as this happened, he came out and he was like, "This is what we're saying." And now, of course, he's kind of faltered from that original position because it's gone more to it's a Republican's fault thing, and he's kind of allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the original message was pristine. There's nothing I could say bad about it.
No, it was absolutely good. It was this is not who America is. This is not what this is a minority group of extremists,
No, I would
and
have
I was like, that's phenomenal.
I would have really liked to have heard that during Black Lives Matter protests and riots. But, you know.
Well, he did condemn the violence and the looting. I mean, to quote him, he said, rioting is not protesting.
3 weeks later.
I thought it was 2 days. I think
It
we've
didn't
had
matter.
this.
City was already burnt to the
we've
ground.
had this. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we're not even going to talk. We'll have a separate podcast on Black Lives Matter.
Oh, no, because I'm for sure going to... So, I'm going to get to the crux of my argument, if that's okay with you guys.
Go for it.
So, the crux of my argument is if you are going to hold Donald Trump liable for his raising the temperature rhetoric, because he did not say, go and riot at the Capitol, correct?
No, he didn't say it that explicit, no.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the argument is his raising of the temperature by telling people the election was stolen was enough to incite them into violence at the Capitol. If you can impeach a president for his rhetoric raising the temperature and leading to violent action, despite him never calling for violent action, we can impeach a lot of people. A lot of people.
Okay.
So
you're worried about the precedent it sets.
well, that's what I said early on in this podcast, is the precedent it sets. So politicians use words like you have to fight, you're losing your country, things that Trump said all the time. All the time. Because it drives out voters. Because you need, your vote is the way you fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, well, I'm not going to go there. But if you can impeach somebody for that, then I want a lot of other people impeached. Because if you're going to do it to Trump, you need to take that standard and apply it fairly across the board.
Right. So you are wanting them to go after people for their speech in general. Is that what you
No.
want?
I'm saying if you're going to hold one person accountable for nothing but his speech, then you need to hold everyone accountable. Personally, I would prefer you not attack anybody over their speech.
Even if
I disagree with Alex Jones, but he's allowed to say what he's allowed to what he wants to say.
What if said person incites treason? I mean, like a rebellion against the United States government.
That's a right as an individual.
You have the right to
Hold the fucking phone. Say again.
That is a right you have as an individual.
To commit treason against the United States
I never
government.
said you get far.
So as much as you have the right to define treason. Are we selling nuclear secrets to Russia?
Would that be on par with you to trying to take over your own government?
So there's a difference between rebellion and treason.
I would say
Is what I'm struggling with.
Rebellion
right now.
is treason.
I guess So the revolution was treason to UK, right?
Yes. If they would
So
have...
we as the people have a right to overthrow our government, though. Doesn't mean they make it easy and they take it lying down. No government ever takes it lying down.
No. I don't think you have a right
So
to try
what would have
and
happened if
overthrow
the
the
election
government.
really was stolen? What would have happened if Trump actually had proof? Or let's say it was going the other way. Let's say Biden got cheated. And they found it. They had proof and evidence. But nothing got done about it. Trump stayed president. What do? You fucking burn the shit down. Because that's not fair. Somebody's pulling the strings. I'm not saying there's never a time to riot. I'm saying Trump didn't bring the goods to sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you got the goods and nothing gets done, well, I've got to... Who's that? Christopher Walken?
Yeah.
If nothing gets done, then... It's...
But, I mean, he didn't bring any of the goods, though.
No, he absolutely did not.
That's the
Absolutely did not. But...
And
Is it treason, then? Is it treason to rebel against a government that cheated you? Because that's so we're not talking about the Capitol riots anymore. We're talking about is treason a right of individuals, and if so really it's a matter of perspective whether it's treason or rebellion.
Let's not get too far off topic because the fact is that it wasn't stolen, and they attacked it even if they thought it was stolen. Like, I don't care what you think. The fact that you live in a different reality than me is not my fucking legal problem, because they buy into as much horseshit as, like, the sky is bright red.
So and I'm like, you believe Trump should be held accountable for inciting the violence at Capitol Hill, right?
Held accountable how?
Impeached.
Barred from holding office?
Criminally? Do you think he should be held criminally liable?
I don't think it would work now. If the courts thought that, then yeah, I guess. But I personally wouldn't pursue it.
But at least impeached.
But yeah, I would have voted yes on impeachment, yes.
Okay. So what about... Nick, go ahead.
My thing is, he never once told people to riot, turn to violence. That's my problem.
You're right.
So if I told Garrett to peacefully protest, I don't care how hot that water is, and he turns to riot, but I said peacefully protest, I'd feel like, no, I told him to peacefully protest. It's not my fault that he's batshit crazy.
I would like to refer to my early argument, and you might be right legally. That's what the whole plausible deniability reference was earlier.
But again, to make it plausible.
But ethically, I think we all know that wasn't.
So ethically,
that wasn't okay.
Ethically, raising the temperature is wrong and impeachable.
Well, no, it's not. It's not raising the temperature anyway. Like, there's nothing. So, to the degree of, like, treason, I would say, is because that's what that was. The simple question was asked. It was like, do you have a country, and will you support it even if it doesn't 100% go your way? And those people said no. I will only support this country if it goes my way.
I believe the people that rioted something got gypped. They felt like they were cheated. As long as they were.
So I'm going to agree with you, and I'm gonna. This is my main argument against it is, why don't we impeach Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris and anyone who endorsed and supported Black Lives Matter riots?
Did they endorse the riots or the movement?
The riots.
They said...
I have a video right here of at least 5 of them.
They said what?
Nancy Pelosi said, out of context, but I'm going to quote her. I can play the whole thing if you want.
No, I just thought it was funny how you worded it.
I'm surprised there's not riots all over. Hopefully there will be.
The fact that they let part of Seattle... Told police
become a sovereign nation.
And told police to not do it. They made it so.
The
chief of
what
police,
was the murder capital of the world, Wyatt?
It was for a time Chat's Chop.
Yeah.
If it would have been an actual city, of course per capita, but So here's my case. Would the Black Lives Matter riots have not happened if Nancy would have said nothing? If Nancy just, shuts her mouth and deletes her Twitter...
Not just Nancy, but the reason the Black Lives Matter started was because years of Democrats telling black people they were systemically oppressed. That a cop would just stroll down the street and shoot them.
I think black people figured that out on their own.
I don't think black people are systemically oppressed, and I think a lot of them know that.
I think for sure a couple of them do. Like the Hodge twins don't feel like they're systematically oppressed. Oh goodness, are they actually African American? The Hodge twins. Okay, I don't listen to the Hodge twins, but I was getting them confused with somebody else.
Candace Owens is also not Ben Carson.
Yeah, no, I knew those two, but I don't listen to the Hodge twins, so that's why I had to ask. That's why I see them on Crowder, but I don't listen to like their show. But they are hilarious, and I love them.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going. But black people were pretty much able to figure out on their own that they thought that they were being oppressed. It wasn't based on Democrats.
So Republicans felt cheated before anyone started coming out and saying they were cheated.
No.
November 7th, watching the election, I was like, that's really weird.
But the fact
But
that
Now,
Pennsylvania...
I do not currently think we got cheated out of the election.
It didn't have anything to do with Donald Trump that night. That night. Before they even stopped the counting that night on November 3rd.
I was watching it on CNN. I don't think I saw anything from Donald Trump
He said, as far as I'm concerned, we've already won. And then he starts the whole, it's rigged, it's stolen. He said, he basically patents, stop the steal.
Well, okay, no offense. If when Pennsylvania said we're done counting votes for the night, and then 1 million ballots come in, middle of the night, not in like formal, they're carried in wagons.
No.
And they all happen to
there's
be...
video of it.
They're all having to be from Joe Biden. And these aren't even people, like, with IDs. These are just random people in random clothing.
Volunteers.
You still have to have an ID. There's no way to check if these people are legit.
My main point is that Democrats ran on systemic racism in 2012.
Obama did not. Obama was getting elected no matter what. He didn't run.
He won by a lot.
He ran on being Barack Obama. He's the, most popular president probably in the past 20 years.
Till Joe Biden.
Since Reagan.
Till Joe Biden. Joe Biden got more votes.
Joe Biden did get more votes, but he didn't win as big, like, electorally.
Okay. Anyway.
He won, like, 360.
My point is that Democrats pushing the narrative that systemic racism is keeping African Americans down and keeping them from progressing, which is a lie, stirred up the BLM riots, which have caused billions in damage since 2016.
The fact that Washington
Hands up, don't shoot was a myth.
Okay, so you don't think that they, like, seeing, like, Eric Gardner shot on TV started the riots?
Yeah, that could upset some people. But the hands up, don't shoot was a myth perpetuated by Democrats.
Okay.
Was a straight myth. Was a lie to their face.
Okay.
To stir up votes. And violence.
And if you remember right, that started as a movement within their community. That was not that didn't start out as a Democratic movement. The Democratic Party just ran with it. But did it start with the Democratic Party? No is the answer.
So you picked up a hot potato and... So you picked up a coal and just started stirring it into a fire and somehow you're not at fault?
Well, it's not a settled issue. Like, half the country agrees with Democrats that blacks are systematically oppressed. Correct?
I would assume so, because at least half of you vote Democrat.
It's not blue is blue, and it's not, red is red. It's what the fuck is
what
these
law
two colors?
on the books right now keeps black people down?
I think we're getting a little off topic.
But the whole point of this is...
Can you incite... Who individually would you impeach for their speech?
Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
Let's see.
And did her...
Barack Obama.
Nancy
I would have impeached him.
Okay. Nancy Pelosi...
Would have impeached Obama.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
For his part in the 2016 BLM riots.
Okay.
4 cops in Dallas were shot because of him.
Because of him.
Because of his words.
So you're saying if he doesn't say anything, those cops don't get shot?
Yeah.
Okay. My thing is...
Especially
especially an African American president.
I really don't
You're wrong.
If you don't think...
Because I don't remember him.
Black Lives Matter was not democratically motivated, they shot a random white guy because someone said, he's a Trump supporter. And they shot him dead.
They got that on tape.
They said, there's a Trumper over here, and you hear 2 gunshots, and that guy's dead. Could have been
that was a Democrat that said that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a congressman or what?
No, that was a...
Oh.
There was a parade.
Just a random guy walking down the street, and they said, we got a Trumper over here, and they shot him dead. Yeah. And you don't think...
Yeah, there was definitely there was a political temperature that was raised. I don't disagree with that.
So why is it okay to hold Trump accountable for him raising the political temperature in inciting a riot, but it is not okay to hold Democrats accountable for their raising the temperature and inciting a riot?
It's not never accountable or never okay to hold Democrats accountable. I think Trump is directly responsible.
I think Democrats are directly responsible for the BLM
the fact that
riots.
you're saying Democrats and not individuals.
My thing is,
is kind of the
because
point.
Democrat politicians all ran on it. It's not just a single individual. Just like, so I could say Republicans because Ted Cruz and Hawley both advocated that the election was stolen.
Well, the
a lot
problem
of Republicans
is
did.
that we know that their words had little impact on the riot. That's why they didn't try to impeach them.
Are you in the head of every single one of the people who
Just ask the people at the Capitol why they were there. They'll tell you, I promise. And it was because they thought they were acting on the direct orders of Donald J. Trump. They tell you that. Just ask the people. I don't have to be magically inside their head. You can ask them. You can take them for their word.
And how many of them are like in a cult following?
All of them, I would argue. All of them. And who's the leader?
If you stormed the Capitol, you're part of a cult.
And who's the leader? Donald
Wasn't it the
Trump.
QAnon shaman? I think he was.
He answers to Trump. He says.
Man.
And he, as a matter of fact, since his arrest, I think I've seen stuff that says he no longer wants to affiliate with Trump after he realized that Trump doesn't have his back.
If you're gonna, okay, so you're saying Trump abused power?
What do you mean?
So you're trying.
So I'm all for holding politicians of high authority accountable with their words, because I think when you're in that high of an office, I think that your word carries weight, and it can really influence a lot of people's decisions.
There's been a lot of impeachable offenses in 2020 alone.
Like what?
Nancy Pelosi in California getting her hair done?
How is that an impeachable defense?
For the fact that she said...
It's not criminal what she did.
It was. In California, hair salons were shut down, and except for her.
So I'm not going to deny that hypocrisy is rampant.
You don't think that was an abuse of power? That it's Nancy Pelosi wanting to get her hair done?
You understand the hair salon was open.
Couldn't been. It was.
Yes, it was.
It can't be open if it's shut down. All hair salons at the time were.
So
were
McDonald's is essential business. Okay.
Hair salons are not.
They damn sure were.
Literally, she had to come out and say that she was set up because of the fact that hair salons at the time were all shut down. You couldn't go to
Look,
them.
I'm not going to deny that hypocrisy is rampant in both parties.
It's not hypocrisy. That's an abuse of power.
No, that's hypocrisy. To tell people to
there
stay
is a
inside.
phone call that says it's Miss Pelosi. She goes, okay, we'll set up the appointment now. Even though in California at the time, hair salons were closed. Barbers were... How is that not an abuse of power?
Because they would have done it for anybody else.
No, they wouldn't.
She didn't say, I'm Nancy Pelosi.
They weren't doing it for anybody.
They said, I'm Nancy Pelosi. She didn't say, I'm Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. Find me.
There is a phone call that says, yes, we'll set up an appointment for Miss Pelosi.
Look, I don't think Wyatt's going to try to defend Nancy Pelosi's character here.
I'm not. I'm telling you, hypocrisy is hypocrisy. It's hypocritical to say...
It's an abuse of power.
It's hypocritical to say, hey, we're in this together, stay inside, abide by these shutdown laws, and then go get your hair done.
Actually, I'm just going to pose this. Like, would you listeners like to hear a podcast on COVID-19 and the collective stuff? Because, one, this is way off topic. Like, hypocrisy has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. But we kind of all agreed to not talk about COVID because I think everybody's sick of hearing about it.
Yeah.
But if you would like to hear about it, please let us know. Because we could do like a 4-hour-long fucking podcast on all the COVID bullshit.
Yeah, but...
Hashtag fuck Fauci.
You can't tell me, though, she didn't abuse power. That every hair salon, under law at the time, could not take anyone, but they made an exception for her? That not abuse of power?
I don't know that she was the only person that went in there, but I mean, I don't think it was an abuse. I don't think it was an abuse of. Yeah, I wouldn't care who else it was. To be completely honest with you, I didn't care when Nancy Pelosi got caught.
So
just kind of like I don't care.
So the fact that every other salon had to be shut down by law at the time, could not take anyone, could not take appointments. They were shut down. But Nancy Pelosi gets her hair done?
And you think that is an abuse of power equatable to Donald Trump?
The fact that they set it up because of her, yes. In fact, like, I could not go get my hair done at a salon if I was in California. But Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, does it?
So I'm not... What abuse of power from Donald Trump are you talking about?
Not the abuse of power.
I'm saying
the incitement. I mean, regardless of what you think of his previous impeachment attempts.
So I'm not gonna lump in Nancy Pelosi getting a blowout when she advocates for COVID lockdowns. I'm not gonna lump that in with the level of what we're accusing Donald Trump
I'm
of.
saying, if you want to talk about impeachment, there's been a lot of impeachable offenses
Well,
that
unfortunately,
could have happened.
Unfortunately, you can't impeach politicians for being hypocrites. Otherwise, we'd have no politicians ever.
Right.
Like, and now that would suit me just fucking fine because I hate hypocrisy. You will learn very quickly that I hate one thing more than everything else, and it's hypocrites. I hate it. I hate it beyond. Ugh. That's why I'm so pissed off at Twitter. That's why I'm so pissed off at all these people that have different standards depending on what political affiliation you have. All right, because I hate hypocrites. I hate it. But that's not really the conversation right now.
It's not equatable.
And I do have to say that. What Donald Trump is accused of is not equatable to her getting her hair done while advocating for COVID lockdowns. Because while what she advocated for was stupid, and while she was a giant fucking hypocrite going to get her hair done, people stormed the Capitol.
Yeah.
The accusation is a lot more serious.
Tried to overthrow our government procedures to carry out our next president.
Like, I'm not going to argue that's what they were trying to do.
They screamed hang Mike Pence even though they voted for him.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Oh,
I feel
okay.
bad. That's the only person I feel bad for.
Oh, that's, yeah. If you feel bad for anybody, it should really be
Nick,
Mike
you
Pence.
haven't really said, would you have voted for impeachment knowing everything you know now? For Donald Trump. Ignore everybody else. Ignore everything else. Just solely
I
look
don't think
at
I
Trump.
would. The sole fact that he never
If you
came
had
out
to,
and cited violence.
if you had to place a portion of responsibility on Trump, what would it be?
Like, percentage-wise.
I'm willing to put it as high as 75% at least.
I would.
Woof.
That
Minimum bar for me.
Wait, that's your minimum? 75?
That's way too high.
So, put a number on.
Garrett, do you have one while he's thinking?
I do, but I don't want to interfere with his opinion.
I mean, it's a very low number. If for the fact that just because
Under
water's
50?
yes,
Okay.
just for the fact that he never himself told people to storm the Capitol. They did that on their own free will.
Oh, for sure you have to hold the people accountable. That's the other 25%.
Oh, yeah, you got to arrest him.
You know?
Like, that's... Like, I'm sorry, but you did... Like, what you did with no evidence. Like I'm saying, if you had proof the election was stolen and then we want to storm the Capitol...
To their mind, they have proof.
That's not... that. No. I'm saying, like, you got to bring proof to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to say, yeah, this is proof that the election was stolen, but we're not going to overturn this election. Okay? And not saying that would ever happen, but if that does happen, then we storm the streets. Alright? I'd have been right there fucking with you. It doesn't matter who it was. If Biden got it stolen, I'd have been right there with you, because that's some shit. And again, I hate hypocrites.
Right.
If you have a set of rules, you follow the rules, and they're equally applied to everybody.
Would you say above 10% responsibility goes to Trump?
So if you don't have an actual number, I'm going to put a number on it.
I don't have an actual number.
I'm going to put it 40% on Trump. 40% on Trump's rhetoric. He definitely rose the temperature. And I can say that with confidence because I don't think Bernie Sanders is accountable for what happened at the congressional baseball shooting. But he sure as shit told people that Republicans wanted grandma and grandpa dead because they wouldn't vote on health care. Alright, that raises the fucking temperature. Now, I'm not saying he told that shooter to go shoot up a bunch of Congress people. But, damn it, he's a little bit responsible.
Yeah. And he handled that a lot better, I felt like.
I don't remember how he handled it, to be perfectly honest.
Basically saying
No, just for a point of reference, I did used to be a Bernie Sanders supporter. I had a liberal face,
Socialist.
so I've been where
You commie.
some of these people probably are. But I'm gonna give it a firm 40%, and the reason it's only 40% is because tensions between Democrats and Republicans has been rising since 2008. Now, that's not Obama's fault. I mean, it's not Obama's fault. It is he ran as who he is. And, well, not really. But it really raised tensions because it exacerbated how divided we were. It really brought to light like how much we really disagreed with each other. And the problem is, the reason everything's so divisive is because we live in the information age, and every 4 years it feels like the world is on the line. Your way of life is on the line. And let's be real, it almost never is. Your way of life is almost never at risk every 4 years when a new president's elected. Biden could do a lot of screwed up shit. All of it could be fixed.
No, absolutely.
And no one should feel, and I fell into this hole too. I fell into this hole where it felt like every 4 years, my way of life, my everything was on the line with who got elected president. And the part of that problem is because the president has so much fucking power now. Because we legislate through executive orders. Joe Biden wrote 50... Shit, it's up higher now. But he wrote so many of the Democrats were saying, hey, maybe slow down.
Right,
now,
yeah, no.
And that's part of the problem. We've given a lot of power to the presidents, and we don't legislate through Congress anymore.
Well, it's hard to legislate through Congress.
Yeah.
It's
because
really hard.
You got to get bipartisan approval, which makes things by far more agreeable and by far longer lasting.
Well, some sides won't cave.
The greatest deals are when everyone feels screwed.
Yeah. I think I heard that somewhere.
That's how you know a deal's good, is everyone feels screwed.
If a Democrat and a Republican both feel like they're getting a shaft, it's probably a good deal.
But, I mean, would you say at least that Biden is nowhere near going to raise the temperature? Anywhere near Trump. I mean, that's why his approval rating. I haven't checked his approval rating in a while, but he started, 8 points higher than Trump ever got. He's in his honeymoon phase right now.
I'm not totally comfortable saying that. Well, Nick, go ahead.
I don't think his approval ratings would be up for the fact that 1 in 10 said that if they would have known that he had no COVID-19 plan, they wouldn't have voted for him.
Yeah, that's another thing. The news media coverage of Joe Biden during the election was bullshit.
Well, he wasn't on the news.
But the news
he had
media,
a hermit strategy.
My problem is
which is a good strategy going against Donald Trump, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But
oh boy, was it a
lot of other stories. So Hunter Biden's now under federal investigation, and suddenly CNN wants to cover it after Joe Biden's elected. Okay, that's weird because we fucking knew about that a while back.
Yeah, he's already been, investigated twice by 2 Republican committees, and they said that we have nothing.
But he's still being investigated again.
And there was never any pictures of minors on his laptop found. The only minor was actually his niece.
Well, that's
and the sole
dirty.
source is only Rudy Giuliani. Because Rudy won't even hand over the files to Fox News and the New York Post. He just says he has all this information. You understand why it's sketchy to trust
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So when they were trying to say that he's a interdimensional vampire child molester, you understand, okay, we can't.
Can you really show us the portal gun?
We can't have that on CNN as if it's serious.
Okay, but they ran with Russia for 4 years.
You know, 9 people got indicted for that. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 11. 11 Trump employees got indicted for that.
Okay.
Went to prison for it.
Okay.
But that's, I guess, off topic. But it's not quite
the media played cover for Biden because they hated Trump so much.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it.
And they're still playing cover for Biden now. Some of the questions I've heard asked.
Yeah, some of them are tough questions. I think, Psaki just won't answer them. You know.
She's able to get away with not answering them, though.
And yeah, because she doesn't call for their jobs. Maybe is a good reason.
Okay. Obama called for journalist jobs, and no one ever treated him like that.
Not quite the way Trump did. I feel like.
Okay.
Very antagonistic, because Trump was against the media from day one. Rather than making them your friend, which I'm not saying, you have to, let them buy you. I'm just saying, they're a tool, and they can either be a tool or a weapon, and he didn't make them a tool. Made him a weapon against himself.
Should a journalist's job be truth, not to be political?
Yes.
What do you mean? So, should the news station, instead of trying to,
So, should the news station, instead of trying to, I don't know, sway people for one political side? Shouldn't they just seek the truth?
Present the facts.
Like,
ask
no
hard
offense.
questions of both
Most
political
people would
parties.
rather be the first person.
Who do you
Call
guys
him on
get
it.
your news from?
I don't watch the news. You want to be honest? Because I know most
Yeah, I
of the time
watch
it's
Daily
bullshit.
Wire.
So you watch the Daily Wire. Do they present it to you as a bipartisan, just the facts?
Yes.
No, they don't. Ben Shapiro will tell you straight to your face, you are going to get a conservative spin on this story.
They present the facts,
No, he said you are going to get a
and
conservative
then
spin.
they tell
on
you their
this
opinion on it.
perspective. Well, do you not think that that's what mainstream media does?
I can watch the fact that
Don Lemon. Is that anywhere near... Okay. So, Laura Ingraham.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity's not that crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he's pretty crazy. Don Lemon's pretty crazy too.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think Cuomo's crazy too. So... We'll have to get into media bias another time.
Perhaps.
So I guess roundabout way. My final point is if you are going to try to insist that Donald Trump should be held accountable for his raising of the temperature in regards to the incitement of a Capitol Hill riot, then we are going to take this a lot further. Because I don't think Donald Trump should be indicted. Or he wasn't, obviously. But I don't think he should be impeached for it. I don't think Nancy Pelosi should be impeached for her speech. I don't think any of that. But if you're going to hold one, you hold them all. And that means if you're going to hold Trump, you hold Ted Cruz, Hawley, these other Republicans who
No,
also...
I don't think so. I don't think you hold them responsible because I don't think it's... The riot wasn't based on their words. It was based on Trump's words alone.
But his words were backed up by other respected Republicans.
It's true.
His
words were the opposite of what happened.
But
so you are, if you're trying to blame Trump, then these other people are at least partially responsible because they gave credence to his words by backing him up. And it's the same thing with the Democrats.
I don't think so because if Trump would have said nothing, and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley would have said, stop the steal, let's have this rally, I don't think there's a riot.
I don't think so.
Trump's words would have overridden their
okay,
claims.
if that's true, then why, when Trump said do a peaceful
Trump's
protest,
a personality.
they riot?
Because he rose the temperature and threw an angry mob at the Capitol. And
That's a fair point, though.
Told them to.
If his word carried as much weight as you think it did, why riot after he told them to peacefully protest?
I just told you why.
I know, but I'm saying that's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
I don't think so
You're
because
arguing if the water's boiling
because
and then I
remember-
turn down the water should stop boiling. It shouldn't spike up again.
no, but it's still boiling for a time, isn't it? And then if you throw it on a cat, guess what? The cat's still hot because the water was boiling.
Yeah, but no one took him and threw him on a cat.
No.
The water
Trump
leapt out of the pot.
Even if
I
it's
went from
spilled,
going to
we
high
can-
on my stove and boiling water to straight zero.
Well, this isn't a perfect analogy, but
Yeah.
You gotta work
I understand
with
the
what you got.
premise on both sides. Like, you're right, the water still continues to boil even after you shut the fuck up. And like I said, my main point is if you believe sincerely that Donald Trump should be impeached, then you, to me, must also believe that Democrats have advocated for BLM riots and increase the temperature by insisting blacks were systemically oppressed and that they were being shot in the street for nothing other than being black, then it is also your fault.
Okay, I disagree, and here's why. So, if no Democrat had said a word, just silent, the entire 538 Congress, the president, everyone was completely silent after George Floyd had died, did we still see summer riots?
Nobody knows.
In your opinion?
Nobody knows. You can't play a game of what ifs.
You are purposefully dodging the question, and
I'm
I think
not purposefully dodging the
we
question.
all know why, because the answer is yes.
No, I really don't think I'm dodging a question. You can't pretend to understand the motivations of people in circumstances that were not the circumstances you witnessed.
Well, I can tell you that there were riots that night before anybody had really had a chance to make a political, pressure about it, or political opportunity about it.
So, the night he died, or the night it aired?
Yeah.
Both? Did it
Maybe.
air the same night?
I don't know, but I'm telling you, soon after, the second that got viral, there were probably riots.
I'm saying the
that
second
night.
it got viral, Democrats were coming out and supporting it.
Well, they were saying that
this
that's
is atrocious
horrible.
and this is systemic racism.
Yeah, and I don't think they rioted because they said, "Oh my goodness, Nancy Pelosi said this." I think they rioted because they said, because I know Republicans
Because they believe that was systemic
that
racism.
were at the one in our state. I know Republicans. Most of the ones at our state were Republicans who were there.
Rioting.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I know them personally, and I don't know that they actually rioted. But you know what's weird is that they set a cop car on fire. The police set a cop car on fire. Is that not weird? Like, why would you... A retired cop car, they set it out in the street about 6.5 blocks away from the precinct, and they set it on fire themselves. Is that not really weird to anybody?
That's really weird. If that's true, that's really odd.
Yeah, but these riots happened in Republican states where you're 70% Republican.
Here's my problem though: you have Democratic governors telling police, "You can't do anything. You cannot stop this riot. We're not going to let you do your job and protect the innocent civilians."
Well, that's
as businesses are being
quite a different argument.
Yeah, right now. So I'm arguing my premise with BLM, because we can argue about how BLM was handled.
And yeah.
But right now, in the context of what we're talking about, I think you have to hold Democrats responsible for spewing their rhetoric about systemic racism and raising the temperature to the point where people are rioting. Disagree with me? It's fine.
But
I am firmly right there.
I mean, you can have that opinion, I suppose, but it's a 50-50 split issue. It's actually probably a slight Democratic majority. There are ever so slightly more Democrats than we have Republicans in this country. But that doesn't mean that that's what we should do. Just because we treat one side...
Just because we treat one side with one set of rules doesn't mean we treat the other side with the same set of rules.
No, we treat this like how the courts would. I mean, that's what you're asking them to do, to take it like a court case. You have to treat them individually, right?
Okay, you can treat them individually.
So you base them on their own merit.
Evidence.
We have the same laws.
We have the same evidence. The Democrats stirring up the systemic racism thing is videoed just as much as Trump.
But we have Joe Biden on tape, legitimately saying, let me be clear. Because he always says that. He says, come on, man, let me be clear. The basic Joe Biden. He says, rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. Arson is not protesting. And that's the face of the Democratic Party that's saying that.
But he's not everyone.
He doesn't have to be everyone, but I'm telling you,
maybe you can't impeach Joe Biden over it.
I don't think...
The other people should be.
I don't think you could get enough... For one, there's no way you get enough votes. Even if you had a majority, there's no way. They would obviously know it was horse shit, the Republicans.
I don't think it's horse shit.
I think Republicans definitely know that, regardless of what Democrats say, there are no riots. And I think we all know that. If the entire 538 Congress, like I said, if they just didn't say a word, these riots still happen.
I really don't think so.
You don't think the riots happened at all?
No, I know the riots happened.
No, I'm saying if all of Congress had just been silent about George Floyd's death, there is not one riot.
Yes.
The civil rights movement and the LA riots.
In response to George Floyd... So that is one case in a period of 12 years of Democrats spewing the systemic racism bullshit to their constituents.
Well, Democrats have been fighting systemic racism for a long time.
But it used to also be true. It's not. This is since 2000 whatever. This is the modern age. No one is being held down by laws on the books. You show me the law that says black people can't own a home here.
That's not what we're saying. That's not the argument that you're making either. Like, we can have a discussion on Black Lives Matter, but that's not the discussion we're having right now. The discussion right now is did a single Democrat incite, because of him protest at Los Angeles.
Democrats as a political party have been running on a lie called systemic racism to make their constituents feel like victims and blaming other people instead of themselves for their own problems.
Do their constituents feel like they're victims?
Yes.
Are they not there to represent their constituents?
Okay, but that didn't work for me a second ago, so why should it work now? Because and you're still lying to your constituents. The only reason...
It would be backwards. It would be your constituents are lying to you. And I think black people will tell you that they do feel like they're
You're running on a lie.
Okay. So...
But you don't have an individual Democrat you could...
Because it's a whole party platform.
So you would impeach all of them.
Anyone who has ran and specifically came out and supported the riots.
What if they support the protests, not the riots?
Okay.
Trump supported the protests, not the riots.
So the problem with that is the protests turned to riots at dark .1. Like fucking clockwork. The sun goes down, the riots start.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, Trump specifically said he supported protesting, not riots.
Peacefully protest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So final arguments, guys. Final arguments for impeachment. Final thoughts.
I mean, I've said my piece. I mean, there's no convincing that. I mean, red is red, blue is blue. I suppose. Like I can't get any more specific than that. Like,
well, it's not because I'm a Republican. It's because I want equal standards applied. If you're going to hold Trump accountable, then you should hold Democrats accountable. If you're not going to hold Trump accountable, then Trump can.
So had they impeached
personally,
Trump?
I don't think anyone should be impeached over their rhetoric. I don't think so, unless you're specifically calling. You are not specifically calling for treason. You are not saying
we didn't.
Let's overthrow the government.
We did not see treason on
the riot was treason.
Okay,
but Trump did not say go commit treason. Go attack the Capitol. Let's overthrow the government.
Do you think he supported the what they were doing at the time?
There's no way to know. You actually have a question that doesn't have an answer.
Here's a quote. This is Donald Trump after the riots. He said, hold on, sorry.
I should have played my video.
These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever. That is what he said.
Go home in love and in peace.
4.5 minutes after they had officially breached the Capitol.
Go home in love and peace.
After they had just killed, 2 officers? 6
so go
total
home
people?
In love and peace. Which honestly would be more. If it's 4 minutes after they breached the Capitol, it's more credit than I gave.
Actually,
I didn't think he came
it's
out.
not. It's not. I honestly don't. I haven't scrolled up on the time.
I don't. I think that was his 2.
It was at 6:01 p.m. was the tweet. So
several hours later.
It was a while later. But at that same time, would you like to hear what Joe Biden said at 3:15? He said, "Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not represent who we are. What we are seeing is a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness. This is not dissent, it's disorder. It's borders on sedition. It must end now." And I think we all agree with that statement. And I bet we all agree with that statement.
So even Joe Biden says it's not treason.
He said it borders on sedition.
Borders on sedition is not treason.
I mean, you could argue sedition is treason.
But if it wasn't sedition, it was.
There's a legal case for sedition. Actually, I think some of these people are getting tried for sedition. I think.
Okay.
But I mean, Donald Trump's tweet seems like. I mean, it sounds like he's saying "fuck around and find out." This is what happens, or this is what you get.
Okay.
This is well after the riots. No.
We're trying to imply intent to somebody we just don't know what his intent was. We can only go off what he told us, whether you believe it or not. It is what it is.
So you're taking tweets several hours after the riots.
Yeah.
Did the riots happen after these tweets? No. So how can you incite something that already happened?
Well, he's saying
this is evidence of his attitude while it was happening. Like, he didn't seem like, oh no, look at what I've done. That's not the reaction.
601. This was
hours after the riot.
Yeah.
Been fully dispersed.
I don't know. Like I said, if you're going to impeach Donald Trump over it, we need to have a conversation about who else we're impeaching, because there are a lot of people that I think are worthy of impeachment. Again, I would rather we just not impeach nobody over it. But if this is the game, then if these are the rules, by God, we're applying them fairly. So, you want to take Democrats up on impeachment charges? I'm all for it at this point. Now, ain't no way. I mean, it's not even going to get out of the House because they got the votes.
Mm-hmm.
But, damn it, if this is the standard, that's what I think it should be fairly applied. And I'm not saying they should be found guilty. I'm just saying, bring the charges.
If it was credible, I mean, I'd believe it, but I don't.
It is credible.
I don't think
I've got a 15-minute video of Democrats encouraging the BLM riots.
BLM riots or protests would be
BLM riots.
Trump
Nancy Pelosi says riots.
Trump was in favor of a protest that turned to a riot.
Yeah.
So he was in favor of a protest, not a riot.
Well, I don't think he was upset when it turned into
I don't
a
think
riot.
Democrats were upset when it turned into riots.
Well, Biden at least said he was. And I'm not saying...
Okay, so Trump said he was.
I will handle it on a case-by-case basis. But saying Democrats as a whole, I'm like, well, you've lost me. I mean, we could talk about Nancy Pelosi's case, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen.
But all of the Democrats ran on the platform.
What platform?
Systemic racism.
And you understand that that's not a settled issue.
But it's a lie.
It's not.
Just as much.
It's an opinion.
Just as much as the election being stolen.
No, because we've actually, fought this in the courts. Like, we fought the election in the courts. Look, there's no convincing anybody. No one besides a select few. Like, whenever we got 7 Republicans to switch over, I was like, God save these people, because they are brave, because it may cost them their job. It very well may cost them their job. It may cost Mitt Romney the next presidential nomination.
Oh, Mitt Romney's never going back up.
You don't think so?
No. Same reason I don't think Trump's going back up. Republicans aren't famous for nominating losers.
You nominated Trump.
Yeah.
And Romney.
Yeah.
And McCain.
No, I'm
Like,
not saying
what do you mean?
Republican. Not saying Republican candidates never lose. You just typically don't lose and then get another shot.
Oh, I've gotcha. Well, if Trump wants to run again, that's up to him, because he'll win. He'll win the nominee. But bless those senators. I was shocked when we got 7. I was
You know what? You got to vote your conscience, and if that's really how you feel, that's fine. I just disagree.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That's all I wanted, was people to vote their conscience. After I heard what Mitch said, I feel like, wow. Like, I was shocked when we got 7, but I was like, there's more, and they just didn't do it. And I'm like, wow. Because that's what bothers me the most. If you ever not vote your conscience over party lines, like, that's what irritates me.
Nick, final thoughts?
I mean, to me, nothing he said stirred the pot inside riots. So you can say the lack of saying things could have incited, but I don't think so.
Nothing he directly said.
Nothing, yeah. So it's
I don't disagree with you.
He told them specifically to peacefully protest. And you can say, oh, he's just saving his own ass. Well, he just told them to peacefully protest.
I mean, that's a fair opinion.
I mean, I don't think so, but I mean, you also forget. I mean, it's not him, but Rudy Giuliani called for trial by combat.
Rudy Giuliani is not the president of the United States, And also, if Ted Cruz and Hawley don't have the weight behind their words to be held accountable,
Rudy
then
probably
neither
had-
does Rudy Giuliani.
Rudy had more than them in this case.
See, now
He was
you're,
the lead.
Everything changes to suit.
You don't think
You
he
can't-
was? You don't
No,
think,
I don't think so. Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York and Trump's lawyer.
Yeah, during a Stop the Steal campaign. Are you serious? He had no
Yes, I'm
merit
serious.
whatsoever.
you can't start.
Yes,
You
I-
can't start picking and choosing people who have merit and who don't. Either they all do or they
Well,
don't.
you asked.
do.
Well, yeah, you do. You ask the people. You're just like, who do you listen to? It's like, well, Trump and his team.
And Ted Cruz is a part of that team,
For a time, he was. Yeah.
so he doesn't.
It's
carry
not.
the
It's
merit.
not solely based on Rudy's words either. Like that's why. Yeah, I mean, you don't go after Rudy either, in my opinion.
Okay.
So we'll just leave it at that.
Yep. Like, subscribe, comment. If you guys would like to see any different kind of podcast, like I know I said it on the last one. If you want to see theology, philosophy,
Let us know what you want to see.
yeah,
We'll
just
talk
let us
about
know. Any kind of political topics you guys think are real hot button issues that we haven't covered. Hell, the State of the Union's coming up. I think we're going to do a podcast for that. It won't be a live stream, but we're going to cover the State of the Union, see how Biden's first 100 days are going. Any other input, fellas?
No.
So, just tell your friends about us. Refined Peasants on YouTube. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Peace.